Hello everybody and welcome to this week's instruction video. This is the instruction video for week 4 of the Scheepjes Crochet ALong. To make the granny of this week, which is this granny, you need the pattern. This pattern you can download, the Scheepjes Crochet ALong pattern for week 4, from the website of the designer. This pattern has been designed by Wink and you can download it on her website acreativebeing.com. Now, this week's pattern is a lovely granny with a nice mesh structure and in the center a flower. This flower is a 3D flower, so it's actually on top of the granny, as you can see, and I'll show you step by step how to make this. If you're using the yarn from package 1, you'll need this yarn, which is cotton 8, and the color you need is color number 721, which is a deep purple color. If you're making your blanket from pattern 2 of the Crochet ALong, you need this color. This yarn is also cotton 8 from Scheepjes, and the color you need is color 649. It's a salmon color. I'll be making this granny for you in the colors of package 2, so using the salmon color, so I'll be making this granny for you. I'll go with you step by step, and especially round 3 is a little bit tricky when we'll be making the 3-dimensional flower. Lots of luck and hope you enjoy the video. Row 1 of this granny. This is different than weeks 1, 2 and 3 of the Crochet ALong. So we're going to start with 3 chain stitches for the first double crochet, followed by 1 double crochet, like so, and then chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, like so, and then again 2 double crochets in the ring, 1 and 2, followed again by 6 chain stitches, and we're going to repeat that in total 8 times, so that we have 8 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 loops, which are our 8, which is the basis for the 8 petals of the flowers we are going to be making. So this is the framework for the petals. 3, 4, 5, 6, and again make 2 double crochets in the ring, 1 and 2, like so. So you can already see 3 skeletons for the petal forming, and then again chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 double crochets in the magic ring, and I just lost that one. Go again, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and another 1 and 2 double crochet, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just for a moment count how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th petal. So if you know where exactly you're going, you want to make 8 petals, you don't have to look at the pattern all the time, but then you know what your end result is. 4, 5, 6. Then you have to remember, oh, have I repeated this now 5 times or 6 times? Just look at what you're making, and if it still is what you want. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means that these chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are my last chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to connect them to the beginning here of the magic loop. So I'm going to pull the thread of the ring real tight to close my petal, like my flower. And I'm going to connect this to the beginning of the with a slip stitch in the third of the 3 chain stitches, like so. And as usual, I've pulled this way too tight. There we go. And that is the framework for the flower that we'll be making in round 2. Round 2. Now we'll be filling in the petals of the flower. First we need to go towards this empty space here, so the space for the flower. And we do that by going with the slip stitch to the next double crochet, like so. So that's the one immediately next to the petal. And now in this chain of 6 you'll be going to be making 12 double crochets. So that's 1, 2. These first ones can be a little tricky. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So don't worry that they're not nicely distributed yet. We'll fix that in a moment. Now you're going to make 2 slip stitches, one on each of these 2 double crochets. We're going to do that to move from this petal here to this petal here. So that's 1 slip stitch in the first double crochet and another slip stitch in the second, like so, to bridge that gap. And then again 12 double crochets in the next loop of 6 stitches, of 6 chain stitches. And this in total you'll be doing for all 8 loops, so for all 8 petals of the flower. And I'll show this to you once more, and then I'm going to make a jump in the video until the end of the round, and also just to show you what it looks like. Do not worry that everything will start crumbling here. Your petals will be going everywhere, and it will look more like a ball of tissue paper rather than a flower. Don't worry. The more your granny grows, the flower will take more and more its end shape. So don't worry that these flowers seem to be going all like this. Don't worry too much about that. That'll work out just fine. Let's count. Where are we now? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Exactly. Then 1 slip stitch in the first of those 2 double crochets from round 1, and a slip stitch in the second double crochet from round 1, like so. And then again 12 double crochets in the loop. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You really want to count these double crochets. 8, 9, because otherwise your end result is not nice if your petals aren't all the same. 10, 11, and 12. There we go. And then again, of course, make 2 slip stitches and then repeat again on the next petals. And I'll see you in a moment when we're at the end of this round, when you've done all of these loops here, to show you what the end result looks like. Okay, so we've just done all of the 12 petals. I'm going to close with this slip stitch in the first double crochet we started out with, so that's actually the chain 3 from round 1. Push into that first stitch, so the third of the 3 chains. Just close with a slip stitch like that, and you'll see if I just put this down now that it all crumbles and goes everywhere. And do not worry about this. This is all gonna be fine, and do not worry about these big holes here either. When the granny is finished, this will just close up. It's almost miraculously how this goes. What you may want to do at this point is just open up your loop very big so that you don't lose it accidentally, and just take the time to move your double crochets evenly over the petals. This really makes for a better end result if that spread is nice and even. So just take the moment to spread this out, because I can guarantee you by the time you're done, you'll either have forgotten about it, or won't feel like it anymore, or you won't be able, and you also won't even be able to get to it this easily, because you'll have a whole granny around it as well. So just quickly take a moment to walk through all 8 those petals, because you'll most probably have them all more like the double crochets more at the tip than at the bottom of the petals. So just spread them out nice and evenly, like so. Now if you want to know what your flower looks like, you can, of course, put it down flat, and then this is what it's going to look like. It's going to take me a little bit of effort, like so. This is what it's going to look like when you've got a whole granny around it. So this is what you're aiming at. There you go. But because there's of course no granny around it, the moment I pick this up, it'll go everywhere again. And you can see how if I close these leaves now, the petals, that the hole in between kind of just vanishes. So don't worry about that big loop that you have in there. And then we'll go on to round 3. So we're now on to round 3 of the granny, and this is the most important round, but also the most difficult round, because what we'll be doing here is we'll be building a framework, a set of loops for the rest of the granny to hold on to. Now what it says at the beginning of round 3 is working behind the loops from round 2. Now what does that mean? That means literally on the back. So we'll be working on the behind the petals. So we'll be working here. Now I'll be going with you step by step, show you exactly what you need to do. First, make chain 1 and slip single crochet in the same stitch as where we are now. We are now in this stitch here, so we make chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch, so into that stitch and a single crochet. chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now comes the first tricky bit. The pattern says make a single crochet on the next 2 double crochets. Now the double crochets that the design is referring to are these 2 double crochets here. So these 2 from round 1, that's what the pattern is referring to. And to get to those, we need to go to the back. Because what we've done, of course, is we've made chain 6s on them, we've made slip stitches on them, so they're all kind of covered from the front. And by making them on the back, we get these chain stitches to the back of our work, making an invisible framework. So we're going to turn this around, and we're going to be looking for these double crochets. Now pull your petals apart slightly, and then you'll see these 2 stitches appearing. Remember, you've also made those slip stitches, so it might make it slightly harder for you to see. But if you pull this apart like so, you'll see, I'll just take my hook to show you better. If you pull this apart, you'll see here that little diagonal line. Now there's 2 stitches you want are exactly in front of it. It's this stitch here and that stitch there. Those are the 2 you want. So you're going to be making a single crochet in this stitch and in this stitch. That's where you're aiming for. And sometimes they can be a bit tricky to get into. Don't worry, that's normal. Take your time to do this properly. It'll be well worth it at the end. Okay, so pushing these 2 petals a little bit aside, and I've got the chain 6 on the back of the petals, so not in front like this, at the back. Moving this aside, go into that stitch there, and it might be slightly tricky because you've got the slip stitches in there from round 1 or from round 2 as well. Make 1, and then the next one 2, like so. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. I'll show you again. The next set of petals. Move them slightly apart. See where that line is, that horizontal line, and you want the stitches left and right from it. So that's this stitch and that stitch. So go into it like so. Make 1 single crochet, and the stitch next to it, make that a second single crochet, like so. Chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again. Pull the petals a little bit aside, apart I should say, that's maybe better English. Look for that horizontal line, and the 2 stitches you want are there and there. So go into that first stitch, so 1 single crochet, and on the next one a single crochet. If you take slightly one more thread with you, then you absolutely need. It's not a complete disaster. I just did 6 here, so yes, now I need to do 3, and then we move over to the next one, and again look for that, for where you need to enter into. There is the horizontal line and the stitch left and right. So the left stitch, or the right one I should say. I always get my lefts and rights mixed up. It's horrible trying to A, give me directions, and B, having me give you directions, because we'll all get lost in the process. because I have never got my lefts and my rights the right way around. Oh, come on. There we go. That's what I mean. It's sometimes a little hard to get your crochet hook. I've got there we go. The pedal wasn't free. To get your crochet hook into the right space. It's 1 and 2. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here you can see your flowers are going everywhere again. Do not worry about that. And I'll show you again. This one's pretty easy to see. The left one. So here we go again, the right one. And the left one. 2 single crochets. Chain 3, 2, 3. Just get that. Here we go. Pedal was slightly into the loop. And we're almost round. Almost round. This is your most important round from this granny. You want to take your time here. Do not rush it. So get those 2 stitches. That's 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and also the last set, look at where that horizontal line is, and the 2 stitches you're looking for is that one. It can be quite a bother to get in that right stitch. Sometimes I do cheat a little. I just take approximately the right stitch. For example, not the entire stitch, just half a stitch. And 2, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then connect it to the slip stitch, the first crochet, single crochet we did right at the beginning. That's this one. Close that with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to show you what this all looks like. Like so. Again, your flower is all messed up. Don't worry. Just open up the loop. What it looks like from the front, like this. I just ease all these petals back into shape because they've been ruffled everywhere, of course. Which is now much harder because there's actually something on the back of them. Yet you don't actually see a whole lot from the front. And that's exactly what you want. See? If I turn it around, you see here is a set of loops between your petals. Chain 6s and chain 3s. And that's what we'll be using in round 4 to connect our double crochets to. So if I put this down, you can see this is a invisible framework for the rest of the granny. From the front, your flower still looks immaculate. Up to round 4. Well done. Round 4 of the granny. So we'll now be working into these loops that we just made in round 3. You go first with a slip stitch to the first chain 6 space that we made. So just go with a slip stitch into that loop, like so. And then chain 3, which is of course a first double crochet. So then make 4 more double crochets. That's 1, 2 in that loop, 3 and 4, and then make a chain 2, and then 5 more double crochets. Now this is going to be an opening, a corner I should say. So this chain 2 that we've just made is going to become the corner of the granny. You can see the logic of where the pattern is going. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, like so. Then in the next chain 3 space, so you see that you've done this, you can again spread it out a little bit because that will make everything much nicer. So you've done chain 5 or 5 double crochets, chain 2, 5 double crochets. Then in the next chain 3 space, so that's that space over there, make 5 double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, like so. And now you're going to repeat this for all the other loops. So in the chain 6 you're going to be doing 5 double crochets, chain 2, 5 double crochets, and in the chain 3 you're going to be doing 5 double crochets. And by doing this, you're going to be creating 4 corners of your granny and 4 stretches, center stretches. So in this chain 6 space, I'm going to be making 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by chain 2, 1, 2, and another 5 double crochets in that same 6 space, chain 6 space. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and again spread it just a little bit, and then chain 5 double crochets in the chain 3. You can see how I'm ruffling the flower again. Don't worry, at the end of the line you can bring it back into shape. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, like so. And then the next, this is chain 6 again, so we're going to be making 5 double crochets, chain 2 and 5 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, like so. Again, move those double crochets, spread them over the chain 6s, and then in the next chain 3 we can do 5 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so. And then of course we've got to repeat this one more time. So that's 5 chain 2 and 5 in the chain 6 space. So it's 4, 4 2, 3, 4 and 5. Again, spread them out over space, and then you've got one last one to go. That's this one, and that goes in 5 double crochets in that opening. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So, and then we join with the slip stitch to the top of the beginning of the round. So that means we have those 3 chain stitches from the beginning, so that at number 3 we enter into and we close the slip stitch like so. And if I show you what you've just made, it looks like this, and you can see the granny starting to form behind. Don't worry about the petals right now. Behind the petals you can see the 4 corners and the center bits. So this is what your granny looks like right now at the end of round 4. Round 5 of the granny. This is a reasonably easy round, so it's a breather after everything you've done up till now. Start with chain 3. That's of course the first double crochet, and then the next 4 stitches you're going to make a double crochet in each of them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go around the corner with a 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets, which is of course a reasonably standard way of going around a corner, like so. There you go. So this is what it looks like at this point. And now I'm quickly going to make a jump with you to the end of the video, because what you're going to be, or at the end of the round I should say, what you're going to be doing now is going to be making a single crochet, a double crochet on each and every one of these stitches, the entire stretch, and in the corner making 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. One thing to note and make sure of is you really get into that first stitch properly. So move those corner stitches aside to the side and really make sure you get into that first stitch. So do not enter into here, which sometimes happens, but really into that first stitch like so. So that's 1, 2, etc. So this you're going to repeat 3 times with the 15 single double crochets on one stretch, and the corner 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And I'll see you for the last part where you need to make only 10 double crochets, because you've already made 5 of course when you started this row, and you'll close with a slip stitch, and then just quickly take a moment to reflect on what we've made up till now. Just the end of round 5 now. I've done those 10 double crochets for the end of for the first part of the row. I'm going to join with the slip stitch to the third of the 3 chain stitches, if I can just get into it like so. Let's just look at what we've made now, because this is now really starting to look very nice. Fold your granny flat. Don't worry, that's still a little bit wobbly. The bigger the granny gets, the better this gets. And fold these leaves into position. You can really see it's starting to take shape. And again, this does take some effort, but you can really see what you're making. see the 4 corners, you can see the flower, and this is where we're going further. So now we're going to be making 3 rounds with more of a mesh, and then we're again going to make the last 2 rounds of the granny with double crochets, so filling them up again completely. This is your granny in the miniature version. Round 6 of the granny, we're now going to be making a mesh structure. First we're going to be making a slip stitch to the next stitch, because we're now here on this stitch at the moment. We want to go to that stitch, because where we are right now we actually want to have an opening, like so. 1 slip stitch. Now chain 3. You could of course also do a standing double crochet here, and chain 1, so it's 4 chains in total. Then a double crochet in the second stitch. So the first one we're going to skip, that's this stitch, and in this stitch make a double crochet, like so. Chain 1 and do it again. So skip a stitch, that's this one, and make a double crochet in this stitch, like so. So now you've got 3 legs of the mesh. Chain 1, and now you can go around the corner, because you're going to skip this stitch here. It's the last stitch before the corner, and in the corner you're going to do the usual 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, like so. And now you're again going to skip 1, or actually make 1, chain 1, skip a stitch. So the stitch skips. This is really a tongue twister if you try to say that fast enough. The stitch you're going to skip is the first one, that's this stitch here. So you're going to be making a double crochet in that stitch, the second one. So skip the stitch and here make a double crochet, like so. And this you're going to repeat right until the end. So it's chain 1, skip 1, and in the next make a double crochet, like so. Just like knit 1, skip 1, but then slightly different. Skip a stitch and double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet, skip a stitch, and another double crochet. Chain 1's always in between, and to cover that, to cross over that 1 stitch that you're skipping, you need those chain 1's. And so skip this stitch and the last one, the last double crochet, like so. And now you're back at the corner again, and you're again going to do a chain 1, because of course you've got still 1 stitch here left over, and then around the corner is 1, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, and you're going to repeat this 2 more times on this edge. Put it down on this edge and on this edge. You're going to repeat exactly what we just did on this edge, and I'll see you when we've reached this corner here for the last part of round 6. The last part of round 6, just gone around the corner, 2 chain stitch, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. Now it's again chain 1, skip a stitch, this first stitch, and here make 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, a double crochet, chain 1, skip and double crochet, chain 1, skip and double crochet, chain 1, skip and double crochet. It's a beautiful rhythm to this pattern, and if you into that rhythm, you don't even have to look at the pattern to see how many times you'll have to repeat something. You'll just feel it. And this last one needs to, of course, go into that because we just crossed here with a slip stitch to that space. So this one might be a little bit tricky to get into to that stitch, especially. There we go. But of course, I needed to make a double crochet in it. There we go. Like so. And of course, then it's still chain 1. And then we have to join with the third of these 4 chain stitches we had from the beginning. So into the third one, go in, enter into I always find a little bit tricky. There we go. And join with a slip stitch. Like so. And that's around 6 of the granny. You can really see the mesh starting to take shape on your edges. Okay, so we're on to round 7 of this granny, and first we have to go with a slip stitch to the next opening. The reason is, of course, that we want these spaces to be alternating, I should say. So we go with a slip stitch to the next opening, like so. And now we start in the same way as from round 6, which are 3 chain stitches for the first double crochet and a 4th chain stitch because we want to skip a stitch. And of course the stitch we're going to skip is this double crochet here, and that means we're going to be making double crochet in the opening next to it. So make a double crochet like so, like so, and again chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the opening, like so, chain 1, skip a stitch, so that's this stitch, and the double crochet you're going to be making in the stitch just before the corner, like so, like so. The corner is the same as before, 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets in that corner, 1 and 2. And now you're going to be doing exactly the same as in round 6. Slight difference that you're now offset by 1. What I mean with that offset is that now you're not going to skip the first stitch, but you're going to be making a double crochet in that first stitch. So double crochet in the first stitch, so chain 1, skip a stitch, so that's this one, which means that in the opening you're going to be making a double crochet like so, and this you're going to be continue right until the end of the row. So chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the opening, and you're going to do this right until the end of the row, and in the corner you're going to be doing 2 double crochets, chain 1, or chain 2 and 2 double crochets. I'll show you what this row looks like when I get to the corner, and then I'm going to make a jump until the end of the row. And in round 8 is exactly the same. But I do want to show you one thing about round 8 if you are working in 2 different colors. And like so. And now you do the corner again. So this is what your row looks like, an alternating mesh you've been making. And do exactly the same on this side and on this side, and I'll see you when you close the row at the end of round 7. Now I've come to the end of round 7, where we've just done all of the double crochets, alternating them in the openings, and we're just going to close with a slip stitch in the 3rd of the 4 slip stitches from the beginning of the row, like so. And you can already see it's really becoming a very nice granny. Don't worry that your flowers are getting all furled. You'll fix that with blocking. And then of course make the corner in the usual way, so skip a stitch, so that's that stitch there, and then make a corner in the usual way. It's 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the corner. I'm just going to show you this first small part here, and then I'll see you at the end of the row. So again, chain 1, skip a stitch, so that's this corner stitch here, that just off the corner, and then so in the middle of these 3 is going to be your first stitch. Make it double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the space, chain 1, double crochet in the space, so that you can almost do blind, because you are going to be doing chain 1, double crochet in the space, chain 1, double crochet in the space. So this alternating rhythm is very easy to do, like so. And then you're going to continue this like so all the way around, and then the corners do 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Do this all the way around and close with the slip stitch in the 3rd of the 4 stitches. So round 8 of the granny, this is where you are right now. You see you have this beautiful mesh all done, and rounds 9 and 10 are in essence a frame around this granny. But there's something I want to point out to you. And what you in essence are going to be doing in round 9 and round 10 is 1 double crochet in each and every stitch. So 1 in the space and 1 on the double crochet we already have. But I want to show you something before we continue, and that's this. This is a variation that I've made before. Is what you see here is the mesh is a different color than the border. And what I've done here, and this is for pure aesthetic reasons, is that I've done both of those double crochets in the opening. The reason is that I believe this just looks tidier and neater than if you do one in the opening, 1 on the double crochet, because then what you'll be getting is what's like here in the corner. You can see on each stitch you have the double crochet, and then you have them in the space here. So then you have an alternating 1 in the space, 1 on a double crochet. So they go alternating like this: 1 in, 1 on top, 1 in, 1 on top, 1 in, 1 on top. And personally, I don't think that looks very neat. So I've slightly adapted the pattern in the case of where I have 2 different colors for rows 8 and row 9. So then doing both those double crochets in the space and not one in the stitch of the and one in the space. But this is up to you. I'm going to be showing you how to do it like the pattern says, so one in the space and one on the double crochet. But keep this in mind when you're doing an alternating color variation on your granny. So to continue, what we need to do now is a chain 3, which is of course for our first stitch, first double crochet. So that's chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then do a double crochet in all of the next 9 stitches. So that's our next one is of course the space here. That's the first double crochet. So, and then on this stitch here, so this is the one that I would have made in the space otherwise, then one in the space, and then one on the double crochet, so, and then one in the space again, one on the double crochet, and in the last space, and then now you have 2 double crochet stitches to do, and 2, and then of course it is good practice to just check that these are actually 9 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. And then the corner is in the usual way. 2 double crochets, chain, followed by a chain 2, 1, 2, and then 2 double crochets like so. And now again a double crochet on each and every stitch, and right until the end of the row is 31 in total. So the first double crochet is in that first stitch, directly after the corner. Move your corner stitches to the side if you can't get to it. So that's 2 on the first 2 stitches, then one in the space, and then another one on the double crochet from the previous round, and then one in the space, and one on the double crochet, etc, etc. So I'm now going to be making a jump to the end of the round to show you what it looks like. So continue one on each and every stitch, one in the space, one on the double crochet, space, double crochet. Continue until the end of the row, go around the corner and do all of that until you get right to the end of round 9. Round 10 of the granny is in essence exactly the same as round 9. It's 1 double crochet on each and every stitch, and in the corners 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. So go all around once more and close your granny off with an invisible join as described in the tips and tricks of the Crochet Along. And then I'd like to show you what the final result looks like, and also some color variations that you could consider. And congratulations, when you're finished, your granny looks like this. Now this has not been blocked yet, so it's still a little wobbly, but this will correct itself once you block it. One thing to make sure when you do block is put the petals of your flower in the way that you want them. Now I've laid them as a domino, kind of all the one on top of the other, or indeed do you want them to have them all standing upright, then you have to really fold them close like so, and then spray it really wet and let it set and dry exactly the way you want it. Now this is all done in one color, a possibility, but there are of course also a few other things you could do. One very logical thing you could do is of course make the flower itself a different color from the rest. That's one thing you could do. Or for example like this, where the flower has a color and the same color as the meshing, for example, and here I've done everything in 2 colors and alternating each other. Or for example, you could do it like this, where the flower has a different color, but also the background, the meshing has a different color to the border and the frame of the flower. Now, these are just some variations that you could consider. It's all up to you. What you could also do, for example, is give a small frame to the flower by doing another row of single crochets right around the edge. So between rounds 2 and 3, you would do an extra round of single crochets around the edges of the petals of the flower. That could, for example, be in a different color. That would give it a nice effect. You could do every row in a different color, or you could do the center in one color and the color of the petals in another. There are so many different ways that you can make variations on this motif. Whichever way you want, make it as beautiful as you like. I hope this video was instructive for you, and I hope you learned a lot, and thanks for watching, and until the next time, goodbye.